approve joint powers agreement with Secretary of State Office. 6.5, approve memorandum of understanding with Winona Career Force Center. 6.6, approve memorandum of understanding with Live Well Winona. 6.7, accept certificate of performance and authorize final payment for 2019 chip seal project CP 1901. 6.8, approve enterprise license agreement with Environmental Systems Research Institute, Inc. 6.9, approve CARES Act funding request to purchase telecommuter equipment. 6.10, approve grant agreement with Olmsted County for Southeast Volunteer Nitrate Monitoring Network. 6.11, approve resolution and grant agreement for DECN GIS Next Generation, the geographic system. 6.12, approve resolution and grant agreement with CenturyLink for customer premise equipment. 6.13, confirm payment of disbursements. And that concludes it.
Okay, would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Jacobs, second by Commissioner Olson to approve the department recommendations consent business. Any discussion? We'll do a roll call on this one. Commissioner Meyer.
Meyer votes aye.
Commissioner Olson.
Olson, aye.
Jacob.
Jacob, aye.
Ward, aye. And I still apologize, I don't see Marie joining us, so it carries. Approved. General business, 7.1, receive update on delaying payment to Minnesota Department of Human Services.
Karen's not here to provide an update, but we are still continuing to not pay those back payments that they're requested. So that's basically hasn't changed the status.
All right, so we're just in a holding pattern.
Yep.
All right, thank you. All right, 7.2, discuss and approve Catholic Charities CARES Act request to fund temporary day shelter.
Yeah,
And
this
that's
item,
page
I'm sorry.
147. Page 147.
Page 147. Yeah, this item was brought up at the last county board meeting, and there was discussion around it, requesting additional information and a chance to talk to some community members, get kind of a better feel on this. We have some representatives from Catholic Charities here today that would like to address this and expand on the information that we've provided the county board. In the packet today, we added additional information from Catholic Charities that was requested previously by the county board in terms of what the plan was and some of the other details.
Thank you for coming today.
Madam Chair.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I see Commissioner Kavessi's arrived finally.
Oh,
Yes,
yes,
right.
okay, noted. Commissioner
Something
Kavesi
with
is
my
us.
home internet. I'm sorry.
Okay, Commissioner Kavesi, we're on 7.2. The
Oh, goodness, okay.
discuss and approve Catholic Charities CARES Act funding.
All righty.
Thank you for having us today. I represent Catholic Charities, and I was not here last time, so I apologize. You might have to ask some of those questions again. So what we're...
And I'm sorry, could you tell us who you are?
Oh, sorry, Lynette Johnson.
Madam Chair?
Can you speak up a little?
Yeah,
Oh, you need to really speak into that mic.
Right.
or it needs to be turned up if that's possible. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Sorry, with social distancing with the microphone. Can you hear me better now?
Not really.
Does that have a volume?
She's right on. She's right on.
Yeah.
that mic.
Hey, Heidi,
Yeah.
I think we need Steve or you to update the volume on the podium mic.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the
It's clearly
difficulty.
turned on, right?
Yeah, but it's obviously not turned up loud enough.
We can wait just a minute and see if somebody can come.
Heidi, on
Turn that up.
your way.
Since I missed item 7.1, can someone send me a summary of our update with Human Services, or? Is there-
7.1, they're just in a holding pattern. We have heard no more information and we haven't made any payment.
Okay, that's what I
Heidi's right
thought.
there.
And that's still what AMC is recommending?
Yes, that's still the
Yeah.
the AMC recommendation.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay,
jeez.
okay. All right, let's test it now.
Okay.
Much
Better.
better. Much better.
yeah, it helps when the power's on.
Yes.
Oh
All right.
my, thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
Okay, well, thank you for having us today. I'm here with Catholic Charities, Lynette Johnson, Outreach Coordinator for the Winona Community Warming Center. And today we're putting forth approval for $19,200 as part of the CARES Act to be able to fund a temporary day center. So due to COVID-19, a lot of the places in town that were open during the day for our guests to go to are closed, such as the Winona Public Library, Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Services, and so they're not able to go to the peer support network and get the mental health services that they need. So we're looking at trying to temporarily open a day center and use some of that funding in order to get technology so that they can still have their appointments in a safe space, as well as PPE in order to be safe as well. And we would partner with the Edge Church. So we would provide that service in the Winona Community Warming Center during those day hours, 3 days a week. So the technology would be purchased and be available for use by guests to access the peer support network group meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays, as well as schedule telemedicine appointments during operating hours. Students from Winona State University will use this as internship hours from the day center, as well as Hiawatha Valley. So you do have the collaborating agencies of Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Services, Winona Volunteer Services, so we'll also be able to still get them referred where they need to go. Winona State University, Bridges Health, and the Edge Church. And the funding would go to cover staff and administration, the building maintenance and supplies, PPE and cleaning supplies, laundry services through ORC, group facilitation and technology, and supplemental food. This will also offer an area to better serve during COVID-19 because it'd be a safe, clean space. We're not having, our transient population going all over town. It'd be a safe place where they're still receiving their mental health services. And this would go until October 31st because on November 1st, we open the Community Warming Center, and then we're hoping that the peer support network and the gathering place and the library would be open again during the day. But right now, there's just not a safe place for these individuals to go during the day.
And it remind me again, where is this location?
So it's in the Edge Church, which is 69 East 3rd Street. So we're already set up. They would do the same procedures that we do in the evening. So we already have a safe policies in place. And we have our own entrance also. So they're not going through the church. You just enter right through the door and down to the stairs.
So discussion. Questions?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Kavesi.
Yes, I had a few questions. Thank you very much for coming in person. That helps. I noticed your dates are August 1st. Have you started already?
No, not until the funding is secure.
Okay, and if you're using interns, when do they start and who are you going to use until they come?
So I know that Audrey already, she's the operations coordinator who prepared this. She already has volunteers lined up. This was a way to partner with Winona State University to be able to offer some of our field experience students an opportunity as well. So I do know she already has staffing in place and would be able to get up and running right away.
Okay, good, thank you.
Any other questions, concerns?
I'll move to approve 7.2.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Jacob, seconded by Commissioner Olson to approve 7.2. Discussion. I did have another question. So this is the same facility. So your comment, you have it all, set up for your program. This funding runs through the end of December?
No, and actually end of November.
Well, yeah, with the,
Yeah.
okay, all right, end of November. But then when do you open it as a warming? We're calling this a cooling. When do you open it up as a warming?
November 1st. So right now we're proposing that we would have this open through October 31st, and then we would open our warming center November 1st.
And how do you fund the warming center?
So that's a program of Catholic Charities. So we're working on a 2-year grant right now and fundraising as well. And Shannon can also answer that. Okay.
But you do have, so you're working on funding, so it's not in, well, it is in jeopardy unless you get the funding or.
We've been open for 4 seasons, so we continue to be open. We continue to get funding in from the community and then working with different grants as well to operate. And for the day center, we already have some great relationships like with ORC doing our laundry, so that's already in place to be easy to do for the day center as well.
All right. All right. And, this is all short term. So are you working on a long-term solution?
Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm Shanna Harris. I'm the Executive Director at Catholic Charities. And yes, we are working on a long-term plan. And we have been here for 4 seasons. And we've funded our Winona Warming Center with grants and private donations. So yes, we are going to be around for the long term. We are actually proceeding with a aggressive fundraising for the entire organization so we can provide more services and support for the programs that in our community or across the diocese rather than support those that need our help. So yes, we're in it for the long haul.
Okay. All right. The reason I ask is that I was individually approached by a gentleman in the Salvation Army organization, and they seem to want to help, but we just haven't been able to touch base with each other with the COVID and everything going on this summer. So maybe I will direct him.
That would be great because this is a community partnership and we really appreciate it. It's a Catholic Charities program. We always, more help we can get, the better off it is, more community partners. So thank you.
Okay, so I will direct him to your organization. To
Yes,
try
please.
and coordinate.
Thank you.
Because
Yeah.
for some reason he said he had money.
Well, that's good.
He did. He told me he had money. So, okay, we'll talk. All right. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Madam
Any
Chair?
other, Commissioner Kavesi?
Yeah, when you say the long-term planning, is that for the warming shelter or is that for the day shelter?
We'll address the day shelter next year when we find out how it is going. The COVID, it's hard for us to say about the day shelter because other people were doing it up until this time, and they may want to resume those activities. We are in it for the long haul, and we're talking about our entire organization rather than funding just one program or we're fundraising for a different one. We're going to be fundraising for our entire organization so that we can meet the needs that come up. And the warming center is definitely one of those things that's on our radar because it's an increasing need, and so we are here for that.
It's been, I'm sorry, what did you say? It's been, I couldn't hear you. You said the warming
It's an
shelter.
increasing need.
Yeah, increasing need, and they're going to work on
Okay,
it for
thank
the
you.
long.
I thought she said CED or something, but anyway,
Okay.
okay, thank
So
you.
increasing need.
That rhymes. And I noticed you're running the day shelter until October 31st, but the funding runs till December 1st. What happens in November to the day shelter?
Well, right now they're scheduled to close it down if those other, the gathering place, the library, those kind of places are available. If they're not, we could revisit that month because the CARES funding would be available for that month if they could continue to keep it open, if the library is closed and if the gathering place, those other places aren't up and running or whatever other places that were used before COVID. There's also a possibility that the CARES funding, we'll maybe not get additional funding, but there's been talk in Washington about extending the time we can use it. So
Oh,
there's a
very good.
possibility that we could, if it was the need was there and the library wasn't open and other
Right.
places where people could go during the day weren't available. we could-
Okay, thank you. That helps to clarify that. Now, there also is a community long-term planning group for the homeless, and they just did a SIMS analysis. So they've, are working where the gaps are, and they're just kind of getting reorganized to focus on long-term homeless issues in our community. So are you working with that group actively, or are you communicating with them? I'm not sure if we have two groups going off in two directions or what's happening here.
Yep, and Audrey Rivenberg, who's our operations coordinator, is a part of those groups. So she represents the Warming Center and is working with the other groups in the community as well.
Good.
Okay, thank you. So there is some collaboration going on.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And just to clarify the question from earlier, the reason we're only going through October 31st is right now there is no opportunity at all for these individuals. So it's for us to be able to offer this temporary sheltering services for them. And then, you know, if the other groups open back up, like Shanna said, you know, then of course we would allow, you know, then we would refer them there. But this is just an opportunity to provide something in the meantime.
Okay.
Okay, I do have one other question. I noticed your timing was going to be Tuesdays 10 to 4 and Thursdays to Saturday 12 to 6. So that means there's no day shelter on Monday or Wednesday and Sunday. Is that, do I have that correct?
Right, so what we're doing is we're going with the days that normally they would have been at the peer support network at Hiawatha Valley Mental.
Okay, I see the timing.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you're working 10 to 4, but the warming center doesn't open till 9, the evening shelter. So is there someone you're working with to cover that gap? Because if it's
So-
winter, that could be a really, I know that's not in the discussion, but I was just curious to see how collectively these things are going. Is there
I can
someone
speak-
working from 4 to 9 or?
Well, that would be after when the warming center opens. So I can speak to from between now and the warming center.
Okay,
Volunteer services is still working to put up people in that population in hotels and motels.
okay. Oh, so we're still doing hotels.
Yeah, we're
Okay,
still
thank
doing
you.
that. So they would have access to the day center up and through October 31st. After October 31st, yeah, there's still a question of what happens because we don't know what's going to happen with the library. We don't know what's going to happen with CARES funding.
Right.
We don't know if Catholic Charities could sustain that with their own funding. We don't know at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, the gathering place, that's all volunteers and a church property
Yeah.
again, so we'd have to get, I mean, there needs to be something worked out. They were offering space. Whether they're able to continue that or not, I don't know. Okay. And I was just curious if Catholic Charities knew. So, okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Commissioner Jacob.
Well, I just feel this is a reputable organization with good intentions, and we've already delayed this since our last meeting, and they were ready to go August 1st. So the community is being denied services because of our lack of voting for this. So I'm just going to call the question.
Yeah.
It's a good cause.
Yes. Okay. All right. We'll take so the motion was to approve the funding. We'll do a roll call. Commissioner Meyer,
Meyer votes aye.
Kavesi,
Kavesi votes aye.
Olson,
Olson, aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Ward, aye. So it carries. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. 7.3, discuss determine 2021 SEMSHRA allocation and improve preliminary levy resolution. Buffy, good morning.
Good morning, Buffy Baranik, Executive Director of SEMSHRA. Thank you for having me here this morning. I'm going to talk about 2021. But before I get into that request, I just want to take you back, look at what we've been doing through 2019 and into 2020. I'll just briefly highlight some of the great things that are going on. In my memo to Ken, I talked about the voucher funding. We funded approximately 80 households in 2019 for approximately $384,000. That's going to increase substantially under SEMSHRA's 2020 move to bring the voucher program for the city of Winona underneath SEMSHRA. So you'll see a significant increase there next year. We brought about 165 vouchers. We are seeing in 2020, we are issuing vouchers. We're issuing a lot in the city of Winona. So I do see that there's going to be, there may potentially be a move of vouchers from Out County, all 4 counties, into the city of Winona. We'll see, we're watching that very closely. We know that the need for rental assistance is great, and that's why we brought forward the housing and rental stabilization program for the CARES Act. That is up and running now, and we aren't pairing that with Section 8. So I just want to make that clear that if you are receiving Section 8, you are not receiving the CARES Act funding. In terms of rental properties, we operate 56 rental properties within Winona County. Average income there is about $21,000 for those recipients. We've done some substantial rehab over the last couple of years on those properties. That is now complete. We are watching very closely the properties that are funded through the GO bonds through Winona County, that being Parkview and Greenview. There is not rental assistance specifically tied to those properties. The individuals at Parkview can take Section 8 to that property, but there isn't actual rental assistance. So we have not seen this yet. I'm very happy to report that Sumter is collecting rents. Tenants are paying rents. We continue to see collections really good. We'll see what happens now with the cliff is what we've paired this as with the unemployment tapering off. Does that get reinstated? And then what does that look like going forward? I'm just alluding to that because that's part of my request in 2021 as an option. We just want to make sure that there's not risk of not being able to pay those bonds if tenants can't pay for rent because of COVID. Some of our properties actually have rental assistance tied to the unit. So if they income qualified, boom, they'd get the rental assistance that's needed. That's not the case there. We did, and we're funded for a small cities grant in the city of Goodview that is up and running to rehab 17 single family homes and approximately 33 rental units within the city of Goodview. So we're very excited about that. I'll talk about that as well in the 2021 budget. Very, very happy to report that we are down to one single family lot in the St. Charles TIF district that's for sale. I do suspect that will probably sell this year yet. And we have one multi-family section across Highway 14 that likely will be built out with townhomes. That's all. We do believe that there will be some housing activity between the church and that TIF district. We did sell recently sold some land between there, and all of that went to pay down on the debt. So right now, projections show that we will be able to pay off that district early. But note, as part of the levy, it's still part of the levy request this year. So I would love nothing more than to see that go down. Some of that is all related to property taxes as well, because we get the tax increment that comes in there. So as taxes go up over the years, hopefully that reserve fund will be able to build, which would then decrease the amount that we would need to levy from the county. The last item on here, I want to talk about great successes for 2019 and 2020 and wrap that into the CARES Act and what we've been able to do. We were funded through the state for the Homebuyer Education Counseling and Training Program that basically helps people with financial wellness, like budgeting, crisis budgeting. And we've paired that with the CARES Act Homebuyer and Rental Stabilization Program. We're offering that counseling and in time of crisis to help people get back on their feet, figure out what bills to pay and how to change spending habits and work towards saving in the future. I'm going to turn now to the 2021 levy budget request. The total request as of today is $102,750. That's a 2.75% increase. I'll just point out that the levy has been held constant at $100,000 since 2013. Preliminarily, I am hoping to be able to come in even with a lower request than the $102,750. But today I'm going to hold to that. Things are constantly changing. But I do believe that it might be slightly less than that by the end of the year. Our board did just recently move employees to the PEIP, which is the never remember that right offhand. It's the Public Employers Insurance Program, I believe, through the state of Minnesota, that will lower our cost. And we'll see where we go in terms of board meetings and virtual meetings. Part of that cost and the overhead is related to travel and per diems and whatnot. So there may be some cost savings there as well. So our general fund overhead request is for $50,500. Just about half of the levy request is for general fund. There is an increase. There's a typo in your board packet. It says 5.9. It's actually 4.9% increase from the 2020 levy increase. Some of that's just due to how allocations are held between properties. Some of it is actual expense increases that we're seeing in terms of software. Some of it just because we're going more virtual and the cost of that IT support ongoing. The other large chunk of the request is for $40,000. That is $15,000 as part of the Lewiston projects. That's the Greenview and Parkview apartment buildings. That's a levy pledge as part of that bond deal. The second portion is for $25,000 for the St. Charles TIP district. That funds that debt service reserve fund that I mentioned earlier. And then the last two components, again, similar to last year's request, the $10,000, I've added an option there. Just, you know, I'm thinking out 2021, if COVID is still here, if we don't have a CARES Act rent stabilization program, and we need to make payments, and if our tenants are affected, I want to make sure that we can make those bond payments. So typically what we use that $10,000 for is matching for a small cities grant. If we need it on the Greenview, Parkview properties, I'd like to have the option to make sure that we shore everything up there and we use that as an option as for rental assistance. Otherwise, we would use that as funding that we would pledge against a grant where cities and some sort of then match with that. And typically, our grants run somewhere between $600 to $1 million that we bring in for the small cities. And the last component is the second year of funding for that home buyer education and counseling training grant. It was a 2-year pledge. The county, each of the 4 counties pledged $2,250. And this will be the second year of matching. We will apply again for that in the following year. We'll see what they look at in terms of requirements for match money. But they, like all grants, they like to see something on the table. I will open it up for questions at this point.
Questions of Buffy?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Meyer?
thank you very much. So if I understand this correct, SEMTRA, okay, so is it SEMCA or SEMTRA?
SHRA. SEMTRA.
SHRA.
Southeast Minnesota Community Multi-County Housing Redevelopment.
But we pronounce it SHRA. Okay, so I think that I heard that SEMTRA took over some work that the Winona HRA was doing in terms of handling that 165 Section 8 vouchers. So you've taken on some additional work from the city?
That's correct.
Okay, thanks. All right, and then I was told last year that the levy, your levy request is only raised from properties outside the city limits. And I wanted to just confirm that given the change in tasks, has that changed?
No, that is still the same.
And that is because the levy part that for the city actually is going to go to the Winona HRA? Is that why?
No.
The city of Winona, it's my understanding, the city of Winona does not levy for the HRA.
No. Okay,
But
thanks.
they could.
But they could.
They could. Okay.
I believe they use Port Authority dollars.
Okay.
Right? Anything else?
Okay.
No, thanks.
Commissioner Kavesi?
No,
Oh, you were lit up. Technical question. We've got that little orange chat box, and it was 2 and now it's 4. Is somebody trying to? Do we know what that is? You see that up
Yeah,
there?
if you, no, we can't click on it.
It's a touch screen, Greg. Just
I was gonna say, how
Okay.
can
I
we
mean,
get
I don't know
access
if
to that?
anybody's out there trying to get a hold of us or
Good question.
what. I don't
Yeah,
know.
we should have someone
Okay.
technical there.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
That is where people who are logged on are having chats between themselves.
Oh, they're multitasking.
Yeah.
Ah, we caught ya. Now we just have to figure out who it is. All right. Any other questions or discussions for Buffy? Of course, oh, Commissioner Kavesi?
No,
Oh,
something's,
your
I
box is
was,
lit up.
I'm just going into my notes.
Oh, okay, all right.
Sorry.
You were lit up, so I thought you had a comment. I do have a couple comments. SEMSHA, under Buffy's leadership, has really been running very smoothly. She has made some very good strides. I'm very happy that we're almost out of the St. Charles housing scenario. That's something that even I inherited many years ago. But Commissioner Meyer brings up my sticking point with the funding, levy funding. Now that the city of Winona did come and ask SEMSHA to take over their Section 8, it has, and in Buffy's words, we took it over because we would lose less money. Well, I truly believe that the city of Winona needs to step up with some funding to cover that function, because as Buffy said, there is an increased need, and some of these vouchers that are being used out county are navigating into the city of Winona, so their usage is increasing. And I really think, of course, we will have a change of leadership in the city. We'll have a new mayor in the fall. I think we really need to, as a SEMSHA board, need to approach the city of Winona and say, hey, this is something we're providing. It doesn't come, free. Yes, you're reimbursed so much for each Section 8, but it doesn't cover the cost of administrating the whole program. It covers some of the cost. So I am very comfortable. For the last how many years, I have always gone with 100,000, and we have gotten some extra money in SEMSHA because of the COVID. I mean, we'll get some management money for doing those things, but it does come with extra work. But I'm comfortable, and I think, again, the city of Winona needs to pay some of their responsibility. So,
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Meyer.
Yeah, and I don't know if this question is for Buffy or maybe one of you that's been around longer. When I look at the SEMSHA website, it indicates that counties would have 2 representatives, and that one of our 2 is vacant, because if I understand this right, you are the representative, Commissioner Ward. So
yes,
do we want to have another representative?
Yes.
I don't know, I'm sort of thinking that if it was someone from the city, they might be able to kind of communicate this message to the city, because I kind of think you're right.
Yes, I personally have talked to a couple people from the city of Winona, some of our other small cities around the county. We've been recruiting, just haven't found somebody that wants to step up and serve on the board. If you know somebody, yes, we discussed city of Winona representation, but just haven't found the person that wants to apply and work with the group. So
sure, or it could be Commissioner Kavesi, myself, or Commissioner Olson if we were interested, or would you prefer someone representing the city alone?
No, it can be 2 commissioners. We were just always looking for somebody other than, that had maybe a specific housing, passion.
Yeah.
We've had realtors in the past from other counties. We have quite a mix from the other counties.
Yeah.
We do have a citizen advisory person who she does live in the city of Winona now. She's lived in St. Charles and she lives in the city of Winona. So we have an individual by board requirements. It has to be somebody that's using the
right.
SEMSHA, programs.
Yeah.
So we have that. We have some counties have 2 commissioners. We've had a city administrator. We've had a real estate person. So there's been a mix of people. It's just always good to get a variety of thinkers. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that at least on a temporary basis, I would be interested in attending some of the meetings to sort of broaden my understanding of it, but I have some ideas for folks at the city who might be really good. There's an employee in the community development area, and he's really great. So I'll send out some messages, but I'd be interested in coming maybe to the next meeting and just listening in.
Okay, all right.
Okay? Yep.
Thank you. If you can find somebody, that would be great.
Yeah, there are some good
I mean,
folks.
other
Nick,
than yourself.
no, Nick Larson would be awesome if he was willing to do it, so.
I think last January when we did our appointments, you were looking for, you were trying to get off, weren't you?
No, well, I just
But
have
anyway, yeah,
inherited
we had
it.
a hard time getting,
Somebody else.
reconvincing you.
Yeah.
They have even one representative.
Yeah,
so
they
Yeah.
know I'm the,
That's great if we got two now.
But
I'm
it
the
makes
type-
sense if it was one of the rural commissioners, I think. So, I mean, I
Well,
think
that was part of it because of
Yeah.
what the functions and that the city of Winona had their
Yeah.
own. So again,
Yeah. that makes sense to me.
yes, okay. So,
Commissioner Ward, you used the word a couple times that you're very comfortable,
yes,
but you
I would make a
didn't say
motion.
whether you're comfortable with the 100 that we've done since 2013 or whether you're comfortable with the increase.
the 100,
Okay.
the 100. I like
So,
round figures.
Yeah, so I would second that motion.
Okay,
and
so
I
I will
would-
make a motion to approve. I didn't officially make a
Oh,
motion.
okay.
I will make a motion. Well, I suppose I got to pass this then. Though.
I'll make,
see.
a-
Okay, all right.
I'll make a motion to support at 100,000, as we have in the past.
Okay,
We'll have some discussion if there's a second.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion?
Sure. I think in the past, one of the things we did with our Soil and Water Conservation District was we know that there's some of this CARES Act money that could be available down the road. And as a safety net, I understand why you want the increase and how you justify it. If we don't give you that increase now, please don't be afraid to come back to the board. And if there's monies available, we can allocate those at a later time. But this, for me, I want to be consistent. Whatever these initial requests come through at, if we offer you a 3%, 2.75% increase, and every other agency coming through is going to say, well, you gave it to them. And so for me, I want to stay consistent, and that's my reasoning.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Meyer?
I would just like to go on record that I would support the full request with the increased amount. It doesn't sound like that's what we're going to potentially do today, but I certainly think the work that the organization does is great, and I would prefer to support them at the higher amount.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Kavesi?
Yes, I look at the difference in the number of years we've kept it the same. That's 7 years. It just seems like even for inflation for $2,750, we might be able to bump this. It is housing. Housing is a very unstable area at this time, and it's actually more permanent housing, which is a big part of the housing continuum. So, and they pay approximately $20,000 in county property taxes. So for those reasons, I would support the full request of $102,750.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we'll call the vote, roll call. So the motion is to approve 100,000 as an allocation and a preliminary levy request. So,
Yeah,
oh,
a little bit more discussion.
Yes,
This vote sets the stage to directly parlay to, are we looking at raising property taxes by 2.75%? I mean, yeah, this is not 2.75% of our budget. It's only $2,750, but it's making a statement. The votes today are saying, I want to raise property taxes, or I'm going to look at, there's CARES Act money available. Let's judiciously and cautiously take care of distributing that for 12 more months before we raise property taxes. So,
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Meyer?
I would just like to go on record that I ideally disagree with the statement that Mr. Jacob has made. He's putting words in my mouth saying that it means I would like to raise taxes, when in fact I would rather not. But the reality of governing is that we do have to pay for services, even when times are difficult, and I understand that they are. So I would prefer that he not put words in my mouth.
I said
Madam
what I
Chair,
said.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Kavesi.
Yeah, and I stand on the extra $2,750. This is permanent housing solutions again, whereas the CARES money gets distributed across a wide spectrum of housing needs, which is still needed. But to me, this group does a totally different kind of task. And we're not absolutely positive of additional CARES money. The politics haven't really fallen one way or the other on that yet. So for those reasons, I still support the 102,000. And for the record, I'm not saying that it means an increase in property taxes. I'm saying it means a slight increase for home opportunities, for housing opportunities for our citizens in the county. So thank you very much.
Any other discussion? Well, I'm going to chime in. I do agree with the philosophy of Commissioner Jacob, is that when we give somebody an increase, it sets the table that everybody will want an increase. And I have had numerous constituents say, you've got to hold the line. We just can't absorb any more. And if we give one organization more, where does it come from? The only thing we deal with is property taxes that we can control. So we would ultimately be raising property taxes on some portion of our population. So again, SEMSHA's done a great job. They've managed things well. They are creative. They know I'm a steady, conservative, and they've never denied my voice at the table. In fact, one of the Zoom meetings, they wondered why I hadn't chimed in. And sometimes on the Zoom meetings, you just don't get the full flavor of the context of the meeting, and it is a little harder to get. Maybe I don't get as pumped up at Zoom meetings as I do person-to-person meetings and express my feelings. But they are well aware of my personal feelings on the situation, but they have done marvelous work and continue to do great work. I know the city of Lewiston, they're looking at doing some housing things too. And so there's a lot of moving pieces here, but with 100,000, I feel they can very adequately, do their job. And in philosophy, I'm not, going down the road of thinking of raising property taxes. So with that, I'll call the vote. Roll call vote. So the motion is for 100,000. So Commissioner Meyer?
Meyer votes aye.
Commissioner Kavesi?
Kavesi votes no.
Okay. Commissioner Olson?
Olson, aye.
Jacob?
Jacob, aye.
And Ward, aye. So that passes 4-1.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work, Buffy.
Thank you.
Item 7.4, receive monthly finance budget update. Pat, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Can
Okay.
Marie and Chris, can you hear Pat?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, very clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll start with the June update. June cash started in the general fund 7.1 million. Actual revenues were 6 million. Actual expenses were 1.7. Ending cash was 11.4. For the year, cash started out at 13.4. Actual revenues were 8.1. Actual expenses were 10 million. Ending cash was 11.8. Variance is negative 1.9 compared to a negative 1.8. For all the funds that are being displayed, it's a negative 3.9 this year compared to a negative 2.8. I do want to point out that Human Services is running in a negative at this point. Any questions on this document?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Meyer?
thank you so much. Mr. Moga, does this in any way reflect the CARES distribution that we received?
No, this is not showing the CARES money at all.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. I will go to the next document if there's no questions. Summary cash flow starts at 16.5. Actual revenues are 17.6. Actual expenses are 21.7. Ending cash is 12.5. Variances are the same as the previous. Any questions on the summary document? If not, we'll go to the summary budget. Budget is at 50%. We can see that highway is running at 60%, but highway is kind of an ups and flows. So this is their time of expenditures because it's a building season. Human services is at 54%. And then the other thing that I just want to mention is interest. We were thinking we were going to bring 290. We're at 133, so we're at 46%. So we're almost at that 50%. I do want to also mention that with our revenues right now, we had the delay of, say, property taxes. There is that part. It has, you know, the first half was due in July. That will not actually be settled now till the end of November. So we're going to see a variance of that. Our revenues from property taxes are down related to that. I did run a number to kind of look at what our revenues that would have came in different from last year to this year. And overall, it's about $600,000 that it's down for related to property taxes. Now that will be, if you know, should be settled at the end of November, and then that will become part of our revenues as property taxes are being paid.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Kavesi.
I just have a question. I noticed under employee benefits, this year's actual expenses have been 68,000, almost 69,000. And last year's actual, that's for a whole year, or is that up to this time of the year?
Those are kind of ins and outs, because basically employee benefits they're put into like a holding account and then they go back out. So at this point, this would be that negative. Actually, it means that there's more money in the account right now. We're holding monies to be paid.
Ah, okay.
So that's actually monies that are being in there. And then when the insurance bill is actually due, it's being paid out of that account.
Okay, I wasn't sure if there was the timing of some money that we've received or whatever. So thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, that's actually from the employees' payrolls checks or that's being held in the account.
Okay, so that's actually an asset, not a expenditure.
Yeah, it's like a liability. We're holding it for somebody else too.
Okay.
Any other questions on that document? If not, thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Thanks.
All right. Moving on, committee reports. Commissioner Meyer, you had an announcement for us.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. SEMCAC met last night, and they have been doing, in my opinion, they've been doing a great job of tracking what grant money is available, both federal and state. So I will share that they are anticipating that they will get $1 million, that this would potentially affect us. Some of the other grant money is going specifically to other counties, but across the region, they're going to have $1 million for rent or mortgage assistance. It can be past due, and this would be for people who are at 300% of the poverty level or less. And so I'm certain when this finally is available that they'll let our Health and Human Services know. But again, there's going to be some additional money through them for folks who are having trouble with housing across the region.
Great. All right. So what's the timeline on that? Do people need to fill out an application somewhere, or is that yet to come?
That is yet to come. But I was delighted to hear the work that they're doing and the money that they're making available across the region. So.
Okay, great. Okay. I did think of one thing that I would encourage everybody. We all get the AMC little newspaper. I think it either came late last week or this week. There is a full page article about our MCIT organization, and that's of course our insurance, our workman's comp, and our property casualty, and what's happening in that world. Stay tuned. It's not, the world of insuring our risks is getting more and more complicated. More and more insurers don't want to cover certain risks. And unfortunately, investments aren't paying the return that they used to. So making money on money to help offset some of those increased costs is becoming more and more difficult. So just ask you to read that article. I thought it was well written and well put together and explaining what's happening in that part of our responsibilities. All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Kavesi.
I just have one announcement, please.
Yes.
The Hiawatha Valley Mental Health is having a webinar on the 18th of August at noon. And the topic is the new normal, returning to work, school, and other facets of life in 2020. So the information to log in is on their website, Hiawatha Valley Mental Health, and August 18th at noon. If anybody would like to pass that on, that would be fine, or take advantage of that community opportunity. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anything else that needs to come before the Winona County Board today? If not, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Olson, second by Commissioner Jacob to adjourn. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 We're adjourned.
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe. Bye-bye.